So it's a product. And now, even once COVID is over, we're still going to use that product, and that's going to generate, more revenue for the business.
Hey guys, today we have the pleasure of interviewing Kyle. Kyle's the owner of the Nimble Bar out in Victoria. And the whole reason why I invited Kyle to come on board, and thank you so much for your time, Kyle, is because I read this article about how he was able to make an extra $49,000 by creating a digital bartending guide and all his experiences. And I thought that what better way to give back to our audience than to have him on board to actually just break it down piece by piece of how he was able to do that. So we can actually replicate that in our businesses to create more additional revenue streams. And hopefully, I think this comes at a very, very timely moment where a lot of people would want to create additional streams of revenue through having these digital courses or even a hybrid of an experience. So thank you so much for coming on board, Kyle. Without further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit more about how you started the Nimble Bar company?
Yeah, you bet. Well, thanks for having me. Listen, happy to be here. My partner and I started Nimble Bar Company back in 2017. We were just a couple of bartenders at the time, and we knew that we had a pretty great skill set, and a lot of people were asking us, where we learned how to bartend, and instead of actually listening to them, we thought we had all the answers, so we just decided we were going to create this event company, and we went on this kind of circus where we gallivanted across Canada, making drinks in national parks. And it sounds cool, but it was actually a huge waste of time and money. But we came back and we regrouped, and that's when we decided, you know what, we're going to create a bartending school, and we're going to use the internet to get people to check it out and to learn about it. And so here we are. It's been a little under 2 years since we started that school, and it's generated, generated at least 49 grand. There are other payment gateways that we track that stuff with, but we do some other stuff too, like events and consulting, and but at the end of the day, we're just we exist to train bartenders to a high performance level, or however masterful they want to be. That's what we do.
Right. So you started off as like a brick and mortar, like serving drinks as a bar for, customers. And then slowly you were able to kind of pivot and add an additional revenue stream by creating this digital online experience, a hybrid of it, and out sprung a lot more different offers. And it's something that I definitely talk about in some of my other videos as well, is that you need to be able to look at your asset and see what we can do and be creative with it. And especially with the internet, we can actually do a lot more than to sit on this asset and not really optimize it to the best of its ability. So why don't we actually break it down on basically your 6-step process, or whatever process that you have in generating and pivoting it from, like just doing regular bar sales to adding an additional $49,000 to your bottom line?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we have this bar, right? We're, doing our thing at the bar, and it sits there more or less dormant, because it's a bar that's open from 5 p.m. onwards, more or less dormant during the day. And so we figured, well, what's a valuable thing that we can do that will, be a great offering for the people in our town, but also for the bar itself. What could build its brand? And we just went back to that original question, which was, where did you learn how to become a bartender, or how did you learn to be as skilled as you are at it? And what's funny about bar schools is that they're generally stigmatized. They're actually not stigmatized positively either. People think that bartending schools are like scams a lot of the time, because frankly, a lot of them are teaching super dated, a dated curriculum. And so we just wanted to create something that was sort of the antidote to that. And so we put our heads together. We also, there's a ton of expertise, not only in our bar and restaurant, but also in our city, amazing sommeliers and cicerones and all this and that. And so we just put together a really killer modern curriculum. So
So basically, for someone who's not in the bar industry, basically they just need to look at what is valuable to their customers, the patrons that are coming into the restaurant or their bars or their ice cream shop. What is it that they see as valuable, and what can you, as a service provider, be able to match and offer that? So if it's like let's say a barbecue, let's say this diner is super famous for barbecue, perhaps a chef can teach someone how to do their barbecue sauce. Is that the right mindset that you come
Yeah,
in?
it gets a little meta when I'm like, oh, we're a bartending school, and we're gonna like teach other people how to make a bartending school. But that, I think education in a nutshell is a really great answer, especially when you're talking about something that's niche like that, like a barbecue joint. Well, I guarantee you there are a lot of people who would love to learn how to do barbecue the way that your
Right.
business does barbecue. It doesn't mean they're going to stop coming to you. In fact, they're probably going to come to you more because it's kind of like you guys are in it together. Um, and so, yeah, I think that that is the right mindset. I also think that when you look at bars and restaurants and hospitality businesses in general, what I love about them is they're like hotbeds of talent. You have you have like these chefs who are so passionate, and they just like they could talk like for hours about some like a way to cook something. Or with bartenders are really passionate people, and they can talk for hours about cocktails, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that there's often a real opportunity with just your team and your staff to build something on top of what you're already doing that educates the people who come to your spot already. And then you can probably take that curriculum that you build together, and you can maybe begin to scale it and create digital programs or ebooks or blah, 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 blah. There's a ton of opportunity, I think, it's just there, and we just have to tap into it.
So basically, okay, now that we have figured out what we want to offer our customers, hey, you know what, this is something that I'm really good at, super passionate. We have all the resources. Now, the next step that you guys followed is did you have an offer that you wrote the sales page right away, or you just like talk to customers, prove your concept, or what exactly
Yeah.
was your next step?
Once it finally hit me, and I wish I was smarter and it hit me sooner. Once it hit me that like dozens of people were asking us, where did you learn how to do this? I and after our kind of failed first attempt at like building something outside of the bar restaurant, um, well then I went into product development mode, and I was like, okay, I got to put this thing onto a sales page so that somebody can see it and engage with it and decide either no, this isn't for me, or yes, this could be for me, and raise their hand and say, I want to learn more about this at least. And so I built that sales page, and I answered some basic questions like, who's it for? What is it? How long is it? How much does it cost? Basic questions that you need to answer in order to have a product. And then I'll tell you, I built that page. I showed my partner, and I'm pretty sure that he was like, well, bar schools are like, you know, it can be a bit of a crapshoot, right? But I was like, no, I think this could be something. And so I kept on, like, people would ask me, where'd you learn how to bartend? And now I had a place to send them. I could say, oh, check out nimblebarschool.com. And I kind of said it like it was this going concern, like, oh, check out nimblebarschool.com. And it was 2 months later that somebody actually like paid for it. And then, and then I told my partner, I was like, hey man, so someone bought our bar school that we don't have yet. Um, and he was actually kind of pissed at the time, but we were like, we had thrown our hat over the proverbial fence, and so we had to kind of move forward with it. But it turned out to be good in the end. So
Okay, that's okay. We're gonna pause that right there because for some of our audience, they don't really understand what the sales page is. Is basically a simple website with a long form content of just explaining people who you are, what your offer is, what your story is, some of your values, and then what kind of offer you have on in place. So basically, just an informational page, super simple.
it has just everything someone needs to know to make a buying decision. And the way I used to see sales pages online, and I would devour some of them when it was something that I was interested in, and I would eventually buy from them. And I used to think, holy crap, how did somebody build this page? Because they can often be very long. Um, and and then I got on to Neville Medora and a few other copywriters, and I started to realize that it's really just a model. It's just a template, and they're out there on the internet. If you look up, sales page model, sales page template, or whatever, you'll find something that you can follow. And once I realized that, that's when I was like, holy crap, I can build a product and I can answer all the questions that I need to answer. And then I can put it out there and I can just start getting feedback on it.
Right.
It doesn't mean it, it's a great way to validate something. Like, let's say you're that barbecue spot and you want to start a, I don't know, barbecue school or whatever. Well, you can create, this is the barbecue, welcome to the barbecue school of Victoria or whatever. And you can send people to it. And if nobody raises their hand, then, maybe tweak it a little bit, until someone says, I want this. I want to raise my hand with some money and I want to try it out. So does that answer? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And like, so for us to build that sales page is just any of the websites out there like Wix or like Square, like all these different websites, simple page, it's just plug and play, write in some of your content and you're good to go. So nothing too technical, because I know some of our people, they're like, whoa, what's going on with this whole sales page thing? So super simple stuff. We're going to include some link in the description below so people can have the resources to it.
Dead simple. I mean, you can use like in your links, you'll probably have, there are 3 that I often refer to. One is ClickFunnels, another is Lead Pages, and then another is Elementor or plugin for WordPress. And what's amazing about a lot of these is, especially with like ClickFunnels and Lead Pages, and Lead Pages is what I used at first. They have these they're literally built-in templates in the system, and you can usually try them with a free trial, and you just use the templates that they give you and put in your own words, and then you basically have a product that you can get feedback on. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about the internet.
Right. So basically, okay, you know what? You have an idea, you have your passion, you got your team together, and now you have an offer that you want to push it out, but you don't know if people are going to buy into it. So which is the reason why you create a sales page so people can land in it to test the waters to see, hey, is there such a demand for it before you spend hours building out your whole course, before you spend hours doing all the advertisement. So you did the sales page, and then the next step is, well, what did you guys do?
Yeah. So I did the sales page, and then it was 2 months after I made that sales page live that anybody paid anything. I didn't pay for ads. It was all just like people were coming to the bar, and whenever somebody asked me, as they do, where did I learn how to do it, bartend, I just send them there. And I probably sent like 4 or 5 people there before anybody bought, which is pretty good. But yeah, so that's how I did it then. I still think that's a fine approach, but because I didn't know anything about traffic back then. I didn't know, you could run Facebook ads, or you could run Google ads, blah blah blah. I didn't know really about SEO or anything like that. Now I know a bit more about that stuff, so I'd probably build a page like that, and then I just send some traffic to it through Facebook ads, and just see if someone applies. I wouldn't, I don't want to get too tactical, but like I think if nobody knows you, you're building a kind of a brand from scratch, it's pretty hard to take cold traffic and get them to pay like $600, $700, $800 on, something, and they've never heard of you. That's right. Just what I think. But yeah, so does that answer your question?
Oh, totally. I'm just thinking like, okay, after the fact that we have the sales page, after someone bought from you guys, you must be like super happy. And then what happened after?
Yeah, actually, let me back up a second, because the smarter version of myself wouldn't pay for ads or traffic. I'd just go to my network and I'd send emails to everybody I know, and I'd say, hey, fellow restaurant person or bartender or chef, hey, what's up? We're doing this thing. Here it is. Can you check it out and let me know what you think? Is there anybody who'd be interested? That's how I would do that. A smarter version of myself. So then yes, we have our first sale. We had our first sale, and then I kind of went into, like, I just got really scrappy, and I fished at my feet. Have you ever heard that term? So you're fishing at your feet. So I'm just right where I was. I started looking around to people who were maybe working at the bar, people who I knew, and I'd send them to the page, and people started saying, I think I want to do the bartending school. And so we made a number of our sales were to people who were at the, at our bar and restaurant. Some some people, I'm in an entrepreneur network, and so almost all of our sales were word of mouth the first round. And so it took about 2 months to fill up a class of 11 students.
And how much were you charging?
We were actually charging more in the beginning. In the beginning, it was a $1,300 program,
Wow.
and
So
that's
you're looking at like,
which is more than twice the price of most bartending schools you'll find. But it included a bit more. It included like this. We made these custom box kits with bar tools, and it was pretty cool. We've since brought the price down a bit to make it a little bit more accessible. And we also have different tiers, different packages. So
so let me get that the timeline down a little bit more. So 2 months of launching, 2 months of you completing the sales page, your first customer comes in. It took you another 2 months to fill the class to 13 people. You're selling it for like $1,300. So you're looking at roughly another $17,000 for revenue after 4 months.
yes, that's about
More
right.
or less.
Yeah, that's about right. The beautiful thing about having a higher ticket price point, though, is that so for the people who we knew who were at our establishment, we gave them a discount. We call it a bursary or a scholarship, and so we'd say, yeah, we like this is a really valuable skill set. It's going to come back to our company. So one of the students was a dishwasher, and so we gave we took care of most of it. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility to have that higher price point.
Right.
To pay it forward a little bit and give bursaries to people who like a dishwasher isn't making a ton of money. So, and he works at our bar, and he became an amazing asset as a bartender later on. And his skill, he went from a dishwasher to a cook, a line cook, and then he just became this magnetic bartender. It was about a year after he finished our program, and then he became our bar manager as well. So
Wow.
yeah, that's a shit that I love that stuff. Yeah.
That's amazing. What a good story. What an amazing story, and good for you guys to actually change this person's life around. That means a lot more than the $1,500 or $15,000 that you guys made. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, that's if that's kind of our benchmark for like what impact is this making on the students? Are they actually when we have them come into the program, we actually have them state what their desired outcome is, and then we have this certification process at the end. And all the certification process is it's just an insurance policy on their own desired outcome. Like when people ask us, well, will the certification help me get a job? That's like a red flag for us. We're like, that's not the idea of this program. It's not, if you want to get a job, like let's chat on the phone a couple of times. We'll help you think strategically about how to get a job. You don't need to take our program. You take our program because you want to be really excellent at this thing, And so when people sell themselves on their own outcome, and then we have a certification process that holds them to that, well, we have a pretty good completion rate. And yeah, people do get the results they're after because, we're not here telling them what you want to get out of it. We're here saying, well, tell us what you want to get out of it. And then we have this process at the end that's going to be the best insurance policy to make sure you get what you came for, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It does. And actually it's really interesting that you know what, for our audience, they're like, wow, it seems like what you're doing right from the get-go with like a certification with like, 4 months and you filled the program, an additional $15,000. Like, how was your first class like? Like, tell us the disaster stories. Like, I think that's what people want to know. Like, and then like, let's say for example, same example of our barbecue, master barbecue course, right? So in that context, like first class, like, I'm teaching people how to make my secret barbecue sauce. What should I be expecting? What did you expect? What are some of the crazy stories that happened?
That's an awesome question. So I would say I felt fear from the very beginning. So one thing that we did do is we had a lot of help. Like it wasn't just myself and my partner as instructors. We had like 2 other really great bartenders. we had, and we still do have, these guys all still teach with us. We have a sommelier, and then we have a beer expert. And so, you know, we're just kind of really leaning on experts to teach specific modules. The first scary point in my head was, in the beginning, our classes were 3 hours each, and we'd sort of outlined what it was, what like each class was going to be. And I kind of felt like I had this responsibility to do a lot of like this talking. It's almost like pontificating or something, which is the opposite of, I think, what like a really great teacher does. And we were half an hour into the first class of a 3-hour class, and I found myself done the list of things that I thought we should cover. And so I was like, oh my God, there's no way we're going to be able to fill up, you know, 3 hours of time. Right. And so it was a disaster in my head. It was like, you know, I was making it up, because as soon as we started engaging with the students and getting them to practice drills and stuff like that, it just like flows like shit through a goose. And funnily enough, when we put the onus on them to practice and to do drills, they find they get the most out of it, and they have the most fun. And so I think there's this, you got to kind of get out of your own head and what you think a teacher does or a professor or whatever. And you just need to understand that you just got to ask them the questions. Well, what are they trying to get out of it? And let's do it. Okay, you want to have a great shake? Let's practice shaking. If you want to be good at flipping tins, we'll practice that. We'll practice stirring, palate development, blah, 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 blah. So I think that was the first, it was kind of a mental thing that I was like, oh man, we're totally screwed here. I don't know how we're going to fill up this time.
For someone that wants to replicate something like this, let's say, for example, for my barbecue sauce, like after the idea that I have, you know, a curriculum that I've set out, you know, that I want to teach, whether it be 5 lessons, 6 lessons, 3 hours each, whatever the case may be, which matches to my price point, then I just need to, you know, put it out there, and then we need to just get out of their heads and see what's working, engage with our audience to see what flows, what sticks, what doesn't flick, and just make sure we make notes throughout the whole process, right? Like, were you able to document the whole process?
Not all of it, because we just didn't have enough forethought. Or if we were really, really smart, we would have had a videographer there, like for the whole, we would have been able to make so much more. And it's not about the money, but it's kind of about the money, so much more money, you know, in future courses, because a lot of, you know, I would say that when it comes to bartending, I would say like 20% of it is knowledge, and 80% of it is just skill and how you are as like a person, your ability to, you know, just talk to anybody, that sort of thing. A lot of the knowledge stuff was actually taking up a lot of time. And so I think that had we just recorded it and just delivered that stuff digitally before the course, that would have made the learning experience much better. We're doing that, you know, now we've sort of got our ducks in a row, and so now we're doing that. But
No, that's exactly what it is. I think like having a videographer document the process, even for example, if for those that don't have the budget for videography, they can actually just take notes on basically each of the progress, the logistics, what you can improve, what went well, what didn't go well, improvements. So in that way, we can actually create the system and well-oiled machine, and then feed this through a couple more times, find that product market fit, find something that works before we digitalize the whole thing. Was that something you did?
Yeah. And something else we do is we get previous students, because one thing we're really proud of about the program is like students become evangelists of it, and they love it. And we're still trying to figure out why. It's like a really nice surprise. But so we've invited some students to come back and take the program again as like an auditor. And so they'll audit it, and they can actually talk to the students who are maybe like having a tough time. And they'll say, well, this is a really good way to study this particular section. And we'll also have them take notes for like, what are we really sucking at here? Like, what are we missing? Where is the curse of knowledge getting in the way for us, and sort of acting as a barrier between what we're trying to communicate and what they're actually getting, the students.
You know what? That's actually a really important point that I'm sorry for interrupting you, but like this is a freaking amazing point, because when you're able to introduce students back in to help you guys out, it really works out the kinks, because you don't know what you don't know from your standpoint. We're on like right here trying to teach. We don't know the perspective of the students. So having them in, who's someone who's been there, done that, come in to give you insight about what to really focus on, some of the basically barriers, as you said, within your own specific trade, is so important. Same thing with, you know, barbecue sauces or making even ice cream, right? Like you got to tilt that cup in the 45-degree angle in order for you to make that swirl, something along the lines of that. These are trade secrets that you being in the business for so long, that you take for granted that, you know what, everyone should know that the cup should be tilted at 45 degrees. And that's exactly the trap that I fall into myself when with our ice cream shop. So thanks for bringing that up. So for example, like, you know what, we tweaked it a few times, got the students to come in, refine the project, and then the next step is to digitalize this whole thing and make it so then that way you're not putting in extra time all the time. How many, like, what's the process then to put it online, right? So for
Oh yeah.
example, your whole
So
course was like 15 grand. No, your whole first class was 15 grand. I assume the next cohort was like
yeah,
3-4 months later,
yeah,
refined,
yeah. So
digital.
like what's amazing about an educational experience is that you can repurpose in a whole bunch of ways. So, you know, for example, one of the things we've done in real life is we've taken individual modules and we've offered them as, you know, hour and a half workshops to the public. And so we'll use, there are some bars that are closed at night on certain days, like Sunday, Monday is really common. So we'll say, hey, bar owner, could we use your space? And we'll give you some money, or, you know, oftentimes they're happy to just have the space used, and we'll have people come to these workshops. So that's one way we've done it. But what you can do online is you can take many of the modules, and you turn them into individual products, right? So one of our modules is spirits. It's all about spirits. We'll train you on every whiskey, grape-based spirits, agave spirits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Talk to you about the theory of those spirits, and then we'll also train your palate. So we'll train you on how to taste it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so just to give you an example, we're now taking that module and we're making it like 10 times better by making it its own standalone digital product called Spirit Mastery. And so that's just one product. So what went from being just one module of our entire course is now it's now its own product. So we've taken all the stuff that we've learned from administering this module, and we put it all into this like killer product that we think will be the most effective resource on how to learn about spirits in the world. And it also solves a major problem for people who are getting into this world. My first bartending job was at a bar where there were probably like 300 spirits, and every single time, every day I had to work, I had intense anxiety and overwhelm, because I'm like, I have no idea how to navigate this. If somebody asked me about a bottle, and this, by the way, this is an expectation that some people have, is that like you should know everything about every bottle, I would like shit my pants. So that's why this is a way for somebody to learn these spirits in a fun way, in an effective way, in a way that's engaging and isn't overwhelming. I would test your, like, let's say your barbecue sauce, you know, and have different modules and test them with people in real life. And then you could possibly, I mean, I don't know if this applies for barbecue sauce, but you can make it its own, like, I don't know, maybe, I have no idea. I don't know too much about the barbecue sauce thing, but does that make sense as an approach?
Well, yes, of course. Like, you know what, the whole course, there's so many different modules, taking it down into bite size. How much are you selling the Spirit Mastery for?
So this is something we're going to test. We're going to sell it for $97 for the course, which is really low, but part of it is it's like we're starting the process over again as we go completely digital. And, you know, we hope that people will be enrolled in the journey and the development of this program, so that, you know, $97 to learn everything about spirits is not that much. So your alternative is you could go on YouTube or whatever, but then you're swimming in a sea of stuff, and you don't know, like, you know, what will stick and what won't, and that's kind of the problem. But then we get feedback. That's what we want. I'll I'll even bring in probably a number of people for free because the feedback is what we're after at this stage. And it's just the same as it was in the beginning. Because while we're taking a lot of stuff we've learned and putting it online, it's still a new product. So we need that feedback more than anything.
Right. So basically, you created that course. You created different modules, in-house experience for your guests. And now that you find something that it's working, and you're like, hey, you know what? Now it's time to bring that digital. And that's when you started to record the whole experience, have your own kind of templates, and then you're now able to host it. Where do you host it? Like, let's say, for example, for our listeners, they're like, hey, you know what? I have a bunch of video files now. I have a bunch of documents. I think, like, actually for me, my course, like, we use ClickFunnels. I think like ClickFunnels is an amazing tool. Upload your clip on YouTube, unlist it, private it, and then it's just drag and drop, super simple. I'm not sure, is that something you use?
Yeah, so this is a can of worms. I've used ClickFunnels. I've used Teachable, Thinkific, all these things. Where I'm at right now, actually, what I think the best solution is for this stuff, especially if you're kind of early on in the process, is do you know Kartra?
Yes.
So Kartra is a whole bunch of tools in one. It's an email service provider. It's a website builder thing. And I think that, and it also has pretty great templates, and it's also a really great membership site solution. And that's what we're really looking for. So inside Kartra, and sorry if this is too technical, but inside Kartra, you have a membership site thing that you can use to build things, and you have a portal site which can hold all those membership sites.
Right.
And the way a membership site is basically its own course. So Spirit Mastery is one of the membership sites, and then the Nimble Bartending School overall will be its own portal site that will house these different products, like Spirit Mastery, Cocktail Mastery, et cetera, et cetera. That makes sense?
It makes sense to me. I don't want to throw my audience off, like, because like that's very, very technical. Something super simple that I find like a lot of people have been using and it's with great successes, like ClickFunnels, and you know what, and it's something that I personally use. You basically record, upload it on whatever documents you have, upload it, and it becomes a website for people that they can pay, give them their access, and they're good to go and access it, right?
So does ClickFunnels let you have like a login gateway thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's something that I use and I find great success with it. Like a lot of my students like it and enjoy it. So once again, in the description link below, so people can check it out. So then now for the people that, hey, you know what, they have the course, try it out, and you know what, they're gonna throw it online, they're gonna try it out, funnel people through. Now that this is all done, what's the next step to make it like to scale it, to make more people go into it? Because you know what, for you got your 15K from your in-house people. Now you're able to kind of reach and tap into the internet. So anyone that wants to learn how to do cocktails, they would come to you. Mm-hmm. How did you drive that traffic?
I want to stress before we start talking about traffic, and before people get like too bogged down in like software and stuff like that, I think what's so important is that I just want to reiterate, it's just so important to build that kind of, I call it a minimum valuable product, not viable, but this is like, it's a valuable product. It's not like what it's going to end up being. It's just the minimum thing, and just start getting feedback. And even if this product is in Google Docs, a big part of your course can, like, our course is built in Google Docs. Our sales page was built in Google Docs. Get that stuff down. Get the first 2 to 3 modules in Google Docs, and then ask people questions. Get the feedback on it before you get, because what I worry happens is people like spend so much time looking at templates and looking at different software, and they just don't get anything done. So what matters isn't so much the software as the content, the result that you're promising and how you're promising to help them get that result. So it's just a caveat that I want to put out there. For us, what we did for traffic is primarily Facebook ads. Primarily Facebook ads. And yes, I've worked a lot on organic stuff, so search engine optimization, another caveat is that a lot of this stuff sounds technical and hard and scary, but it's not. It's not. And if anybody ever wants to hit me up and ask me a question about Facebook ads or anything, like please do, because I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face. But so we did Facebook ads. I would say was probably the biggest driver of our business. Now SEO is getting up there as we're getting some good backlinks, and we're just getting better. We're getting better at content. We've done some Google ads, but our results haven't been as good as they have been with Facebook ads. Probably because I didn't know how to do them very well. And that's it. And then, a lot of word of mouth, a lot of word of mouth. We had one of our students they took our program and they bought it for a friend as a gift,
So like, that's actually, I think, to the extent of, if for everyone just pulls out all the hair, like, I think that's to the extent of like how you're able to build in a gist. Of course, there's a lot more to it, in a gist of how you brought in an additional $49,000. That's amazing for you guys, right? So I guess, like, for the listeners who, we're in the middle of the crisis right now and like everything shut down, is there any way, shape, or form that you think people can actually take advantage of this time to build something like this? I personally think there's so many different ways for people to build asset right now, especially because they're not doing too much for the people that are not doing delivery whatsoever.
Right now you have two camps of people, right? You have the folks who are sitting on their hands, they're kind of frozen and honestly kind of sloth-like. And then you have the people who are, responding, they're pivoting, they're still going about, like, the context has really changed, but they're rolling with the punches. And I think that the people who are rolling with the punches, once this has passed, the wind's going to be at their back. The ones who have frozen, and I'm sure it's a natural human thing, that it's going to be tough to get going again. And so what you can do right now is you can open Google Docs and you can build a product, and you start by answering the basic questions. Before that, if you don't have any ideas, talk to your talented team, talk to the people in your network. Say, get somebody on the phone and say, I would like to brainstorm some ideas for a product. You can just call me, send me an email, say, hey, I have this cafe, or I have this or that. I'm looking for some ideas of, something that I can build into my business, so that when we open up, I have an additional thing, an additional source of revenue, or just something that differentiates you. It could be anything. It could be an educational experience. It could be a consulting arm. It could be a catering arm, if that's your thing. There are just all kinds of things. But I think it just starts with a Google Doc, and it starts by writing it out. And so, everyone's situation is so wildly different. I certainly don't claim to have the answer, but and think about the things that could accrue into your business. So, for example, our partner bar, Little Jumbo here in Victoria, right away, like, our team got at it, and I think we're probably the first spot that I know of that made vac-packed cocktails. These like really cool vac-packed cocktail kits, and these are things that we could ship conceively. So it's a product, and now even once COVID is over, we're still going to use that product, and that's going to generate more revenue for the business. Our whole website went from being a very simple static landing page with not a lot on it to now they have an online store. The owner over there, he's now learning about SEO, and he's learning about how to rank high for certain things that will always, these are things that will accrue into the business and always help the business. Yeah, again, I don't have the answer, but it's action, and it's just writing something down so that you can send it to someone and say, hey, what do you think about this? Is this stupid? Or, could we have something here?
I love your feedback. It's like, you make such a good point, because at the end of the day, like with restaurant business, like, we're working on such thin margins. So anything definitely helps. Who doesn't want an extra 50K on their top line, bottom line, whatever the case is per month? Like, that's going to make a difference between someone that's like pulling their hair out, or someone that's actually having something that cash flows for them, which is amazing. And at the end of the day, like, what you're saying is so on point, where, during this whole crisis, we have a choice to make. We have a choice to either, blame the world, blame and be victimizing ourselves and just sitting on our butt and just waiting for the whole thing to blow by, not knowing when it's going to blow by. Or we can take action, because at the end of the day, the rules of the game have changed. Doesn't mean we just sit. We can adapt to it and continue playing the game. And at the end of the day, it's the people who are willing to adapt, who are willing to take action, that's going to be able to make a difference. That's going to be being able to live to fight another day. And I think that's the real true characteristics of restaurateurs. And that's something that I really want to be able to inspire people to really have that fire under the belly, that, you know what, the fight's not over. The game's not over. The rules have changed. We're just in the midst of it. We just need to adapt, change, and we're good to go. So thank you so much, Kyle. Like I truly appreciate you taking your time to share your experience with our audience. Do you have any closing remarks?
No, I think that's it. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been fun.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. See you next time.
Thanks, Wilson.